Helsa. There's a subject that I don't really see a lot of people talking about, and I don't see a lot of posts on Facebook that deals with it, and it's the subject of transformation or evolving. In Wotanism, Odinism, Asatru, whatever somebody wants to call it, there's a process that takes place when an individual embraces this way of life. And sometimes that process or that understanding of transformation or evolving, or maybe a better term, self-development, a lot of times that's overlooked because we can spend so much time studying about the gods and the goddesses and reading all the books that we can find on Viking heritage or Irish heritage, Scandinavian, whatever. We can spend a lot of time reading these types of books, and sometimes doing this really takes away from the true meaning or the true purpose of why a person embraced this way of life. To be blunt, one of the things that I've noticed a lot since I've been home is a lot of griping, poor me, everybody's against me, the world hates me. And it brings up a very interesting subject. And that subject is, at what point in time do we stop all the complaining and stop all the griping and the accusing other people of making our lives miserable or keeping us down, so to speak? At what point in time do we take ownership for our own actions? At what point in time do we stop and reflect upon ourselves as Odinist or Wotanist? At what point in time do we reflect and say, what can I do to make my life better? And one of the very first things a person could do is that when you embrace Wotanism and Odinism, the very first thing that should be done is that we should look to ourselves and see what is it within us that is causing us all these problems, and then go read and study the mythology and the understanding that has been explained by those who have this type of knowledge. How can I take that knowledge and benefit my own life? How can I take that knowledge and benefit others? There comes a point in time where we have to stop blaming everybody else for our problems and take ownership for our own actions. And in Wotanism or Odinism, one of the very first stories that we're told is the story about the All-Father hanging upon the tree for 9 days, 9 nights. Depends on which translation you're reading. But this is one of the very first stories, and it's one of the greatest stories for self-evaluation, because in this story, there's 3 things that took place that the All-Father had to reflect upon. And the first one was the idea of the All-Father hanging himself upon a tree. That aspect means that the All-Father had to mentally go in and think and eliminate all obstacles that would prevent him from being even willing to hang himself upon a tree, knowing what was fixing to happen, knowing what he was fixing to endure. But obviously, the All-Father was able to overcome the mental weaknesses, the egotistical mindset. he was able to overcome those obstacles that would tell him that, no, this, you can't do this, or this isn't the right thing to do. So obviously he overcame that. The very next thing, and I'm only giving the short version to this actual story, but it's relevant to what I'm talking about. The very next thing that the All-Father did was a physical aspect, and that was to physically hang himself upon a tree, to physically be pierced with a spear, to physically go without food, go without water. And when we look at that, what we see was that once the All-Father took care of the most important aspect, it opened the door for him to easily be able to accept the next aspect of his journey, which was a physical aspect. If you don't like the way you look, if you believe that you're overweight, if you don't like the fact that you're on drugs, if you don't like the fact that you're an alcoholic, if you don't like the fact that maybe you're being bullied or you can't fight, once you've overcome the mental aspect and removed all excuses, then you begin to take on the physical aspects. Don't make excuses. Get up and go put forth that effort like the All-Father did. Put forth that effort to overcome that physical aspect. If you're overweight, take the necessary measurement to eliminate that. Start working out. If you are tired of being bullied, or you're tired of being an alcoholic or a drug addict, or whatever it is you're tired of from a physical standpoint, do something about it. Stop making the fucking excuses that, oh, well, I can't do this. Oh, well, I can't do that. No, you can do it. The problem is we have to, like the All-Father, we have to eliminate the excuses that prevent us from doing things. If you're tired of people supporting you, then go get a job. The All-Father put himself through a physical regimen in order to achieve his ultimate path. He didn't come up with an excuse. He didn't blame nobody. He did what was necessary. And when it's really unique that the All-Father went through these two stages first, the mental, the physical, because once these two become balanced, once these two become united, then the next aspect becomes so much easier, because you have become balanced on the two major points, the mental and the physical. You've eliminated all these things. You have prepared, like the All-Father, you prepared yourself for the greatest of all journeys. And the next one was the All-Father stated that he looked down or peered into the well, and he studied the runes, and in some translations it says that he experienced a pain. But this wasn't a mental pain. It wasn't a physical pain. It was an outlook pain. It was a deep ancestral spiritual pain. And what I mean by that is that now, once you have eliminated the mental and the physical, now you get to what is your essence. You get to what the All-Father did when they created the first man upon the beach and breathed into them life and gave them blood. Now you get to the spiritual aspects of that. So once you're able to peer down, which means for us greatly is peering within the well of our soul, or within the well of what makes us who we are. Now we're able to look at everything from a broader standpoint. And that is the path that is very few people can travel. Because, be honest, very few people want to reflect upon themselves. It's always easy to point the finger at everybody else and say, oh, well, they're doing this, they're doing that. I don't have a kindred. I don't like my goatee. So they point the finger. But very few people want to point the finger at themselves. But this is what the All-Father was doing. This is what he was trying to accomplish. Because in order, and if we really read the mythology, we find out that when the All-Father came off the tree, he was more powerful than he had ever had been. And one of the reasons is because he was able to eliminate the mental state, the mental mentality of what people put in our heads, or what governments or whatever puts in our heads to try to make us think other than how we're supposed to think. Then we work on the physical aspect. And again, how people perceive us, how people or governments or multimedia promotes the obesity, the good-looking bodies, and have us looking at other people and wanting to be these people other than wanting to be exactly who we are. Then the spiritual part, which is really the greatest essence within wokenism or Odinism, or even following the gods and the goddesses to be more explainable, is the transformation or the evolving of oneself by creating the balance, like I said in the post that I made about the Valknut. It's almost the same way, because now these three triangles come together. And when these three triangles are imbalanced, they now interlock. 3 triangles, 9 points. And anybody who has studied any form of mythology about the gods and the goddesses, then you know that the 9 represents birth. This is why on a natural state, the woman will carry the child for 9 months, and then she will produce a new life. The god Wotan hung on the tree for 9 days or 9 nights. But when he came off, he was reborn. He had evolved, regenerated to become the All-Father that we now know. So what I would say is, let's eliminate these fucking excuses we got, and let's put the knowledge of our gods and goddesses to use, because there's power in those. There's power in creating the rituals that we do. So let's eliminate the excuses. Let's change our mental state. Let's change our physical state if we don't like that. Let's change our spiritual or our evolving state, so to speak, if we don't like it. And if we're not willing to do that, let me just be blunt on something. If you're not willing to change those 3 states, shut the fuck up, move out the way, and let other people who really want to benefit from this and who really want to evolve to become greater fathers, greater mothers, greater sons, greater daughters. As I've said before, this path ain't for the weak. And when I mean the weak, I mean those who are weak mentally, those who are weak physically, and those who are weak spiritually. And also by weakness, I mean those who aren't even trying to change the condition that they find themselves in. Because there is nothing greater outside of yourself, and there is nothing outside of yourself that can help you or change you but you. With that, I leave you like I always do. Hold that hammer heathen high, and always, always fuck their world. Worry about your own.